I never thought my marriage would become the biggest lie of my life. My name is Claire, and I was one of those women who believed in fairy tales. When I married Ethan, I thought I had finally found my happy ending. We met at a charity gala 3 years ago. He was handsome, charming, and the kind of man who seemed to light up the entire room. Everyone adored him. And when he walked over to me, smiled, and said, "You look like you don't belong here either," I laughed for the first time that night. From there, it felt like everything moved fast. Dinners turned into late night drives into long weekends away. Within a year, he was down on one knee, asking me to be his wife. I should have noticed the red flags. The way he sometimes went missing for hours without explanation. The phone calls he'd take in another room. The times his mood would swing from sweet to cold in a matter of seconds. But I ignored it all because I wanted so badly to believe he loved me. Our wedding was magical. I wore the white dress of my dreams, and Ethan whispered during our vows, "I'll never let anything come between us." Everyone clapped, cried, and celebrated us. But now, looking back, I realized that was just the beginning of my biggest heartbreak. At first, married life was blissful. Ethan showered me with gifts, flowers, and affection. Every morning, I woke up in his arms, believing I was the luckiest woman alive. But slowly, things started to change. Ethan began coming home late. He blamed work. He had recently expanded his construction business, so I tried to be understanding. He'd say, "Claire, I'm doing this for us. One day, we'll have everything we ever dreamed of." But then came the little lies. One evening, I found a receipt in his jacket pocket. 2 glasses of wine, a dinner for 2, at a restaurant I had never been to with him. When I asked, he brushed it off. "Business dinner. You know how clients are. They love to wine and dine." His phone was always face down on the table. Locked. Silent. And when I asked why, he'd snap. "Why don't you trust me? I'm your husband, Claire. Isn't that enough?" I told myself I was just being paranoid. After all, every marriage has ups and downs. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe it was just stress from his work. But then came the nights when he wouldn't come home at all. He'd text me at midnight. "Don't wait up. Staying at the office." The office. At midnight? It didn't make sense, but I swallowed my doubts. Still, deep inside, a little voice whispered, "Something isn't right." One weekend, I suggested a short trip to rekindle things. Just the two of us, away from everything. Ethan hesitated, then agreed. But when we arrived at the cabin, he spent most of the time on his phone, stepping outside to make calls. I finally confronted him. "Ethan, are you even here with me? I feel like I'm invisible to you." He sighed, put his arms around me, and whispered, "Claire, you're imagining things. I love you. Don't let insecurities ruin what we have." And for a moment, I believed him again. But one night, everything shifted. I was cleaning the laundry when I noticed his shirt pocket had something inside. I pulled it out, thinking it was another receipt. But it wasn't. It was a small folded note, written in delicate handwriting. "Last night was unforgettable. Can't wait to see you again. M." My heart dropped. My hands shook as I read it over and over. Who was M? Why would she call last night unforgettable? When Ethan came home, I hid the note in my drawer. I didn't confront him right away. Instead, I decided to watch closely. I wanted to be sure before I said anything. The next week, I noticed patterns. He always left around the same time in the evenings. He always claimed he was meeting a client. And his cologne, he wore more of it than usual, like he was trying to cover something. One evening, I followed him. My heart pounded as I parked my car a street away and watched him from a distance. He entered a fancy hotel downtown. Not an office. Not a restaurant. A hotel. I sat in my car for over an hour, hoping, praying, that maybe it was a mistake. That maybe he really was meeting a client. But then, I saw her. A woman walked out of the hotel lobby, laughing, holding Ethan's hand. She was young, beautiful, with long dark hair that shimmered under the lights. And the way Ethan looked at her, it was the way I thought he used to look at me. Tears blurred my vision. I wanted to scream, to run up to them and demand answers. But I froze. My heart was breaking in silence. I drove home that night, numb, unable to breathe. When Ethan returned hours later, I pretended to be asleep. He kissed my forehead and whispered, "I love you, Claire." The words stung like knives. How could he say that after holding another woman's hand? The next morning, I stared at myself in the mirror, asking, what am I going to do? I had a choice: confront him right away, or gather more proof. My gut told me this affair was deeper than I could imagine, and I needed to know the truth. So I decided to dig. And what I discovered would shatter everything I thought I knew about Ethan. I thought I was just uncovering a simple affair, but what I found was far darker than I ever imagined. I couldn't sleep after that night. My mind kept replaying the image of Ethan holding that woman's hand outside the hotel. Her laughter echoed in my ears, and the way he looked at her haunted me. I told myself I needed proof, solid evidence. If I confronted Ethan now, he'd deny everything. He was clever, smooth with words, and he knew how to twist things until I was the one who felt guilty. So, the next day, I started digging. Ethan had left for work early, so I went through his office at home. He usually kept his laptop with him, but he had left behind a leather folder. Inside, there were invoices, contracts, and business papers. Nothing unusual. But then I noticed an envelope tucked inside the folder. It wasn't addressed to him, but to a P.O. box. When I opened it, I found a hotel keycard and a note that read, "Tuesday, same time. I'll be waiting." My chest tightened. It wasn't just a fling. It was planned, regular, secret. That evening, I couldn't hold back anymore. I watched him get ready, spraying his cologne, fixing his shirt, looking far too polished for someone supposedly meeting a client. "Where are you going?" I asked, forcing my voice to stay calm. He glanced at me briefly. "I told you I've got a late meeting. Don't wait up." I stepped closer. "Ethan, are you sure that's the truth?" His eyes darkened, just for a second. Then he smiled. "Claire, what's gotten into you lately? You've been paranoid." "It's not attractive." That cut deep. Not attractive. As though my worry about our marriage was some flaw of mine. He kissed my cheek quickly and walked out, leaving me standing there, fists clenched, rage boiling inside me. I decided that was it. No more second guessing. I followed him again. This time, I parked closer to the hotel. My heart raced as I watched him step inside. Minutes later, the same woman appeared, waiting for him in the lobby. She wore a red dress that clung to her curves, and she smiled at him in a way that made my stomach churn. I snapped photos with my phone, his hand on her back, the two of them walking toward the elevator. Every click of the camera felt like a dagger through my heart. But I wasn't ready to storm in. Not yet. Instead, I went back home, sat on the couch, and stared at the pictures. My hands were trembling, but my resolve was growing stronger. I had proof now. But something still felt off. Who was she? Why so secretive? I decided to do something reckless. The next morning, I went back to the hotel. I showed the manager one of the photos and said, "That's my husband. He left his wallet in his room last night. Can you tell me which room he was staying in?" The manager hesitated but eventually revealed the room number. Room 714. I went up to the 7th floor, my heart hammering with every step. When I reached the door, I stood there frozen, staring at the golden numbers. I thought about knocking, about barging in and ending this nightmare. But instead, I slipped an envelope under the door. Inside, I placed one of the photos I had taken. No note, just the photo. I wanted to see how Ethan would react when he realized someone was watching. That night, Ethan came home earlier than usual. He was pale, tense, and jumpy. He kept pacing around, checking his phone, sipping whiskey like water. I tried to act normal. "Rough day?" He flinched. "Yeah, something like that." He barely spoke to me. And when he finally went to bed, I noticed him clutching his phone tightly, as though it was his lifeline. The next morning, his demeanor changed. He was suddenly affectionate, too affectionate. He made me breakfast, kissed my hand, told me how much he loved me. But I wasn't buying it. His sudden charm was guilt, not love. Later that day, while he showered, I unlocked his phone. I had tried before, but he had changed his password several times. This time, I guessed right. His birthday backwards. And there it was. Message after message from M. "I miss you already. Last night was dangerous, but thrilling. What if she finds out? My blood boiled. She. That was me. They were talking about me. But then, one message stopped me cold. Don't worry. She won't suspect a thing. She's too naive. I dropped the phone, my hands shaking with fury. Naive? That was what they thought of me. When Ethan came out of the shower, I was sitting on the edge of— No, Ethan. You've been lying to me, sneaking around with this woman, and you expect me to just wait? He looked at me desperately, as though searching for words. But before he could speak, his phone buzzed. A message flashed across the screen. From M. She's getting suspicious. We need to be more careful. I read it, and my entire body went numb. I turned to him slowly, my voice cold. Ethan, who is she? And what are you hiding from me? His lips parted, but no words came out. And in that silence, I realized one terrifying thing. Ethan wasn't just having an affair, he was hiding something far more dangerous. I couldn't shake the chill that spread through me after reading that message. She's getting suspicious. We need to be more careful. It wasn't just an affair. They were planning something, hiding something from me. Ethan stood frozen, his eyes darting from me to his phone, then back again. He opened his mouth like he wanted to explain, but nothing came out. Finally, I snapped. Say something, Ethan. Who is she? What are you hiding? He rubbed his face with his hands, sighing heavily. Claire, it's not what you think. You've got to trust me. I laughed bitterly. Trust you? After all the lies, the hotel rooms, the secret messages? You've destroyed every ounce of trust I had. He reached for me, but I pulled away. Don't touch me. Not until you give me the truth. His jaw tightened, his expression hardening. If I tell you everything, Claire, it'll put you in danger. Danger. The word sent shivers down my spine. What could he possibly be involved in that would make me unsafe? I pressed him harder, but he refused to say more. Instead, he stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. I sat there trembling, my mind spinning with possibilities. Drugs? Crime? A secret double life? I couldn't just sit and wait for answers anymore. I needed to find them myself. The next morning, I decided to track down M. I remembered the hotel room number, 714. I drove back, my stomach in knots, and asked the front desk if a woman had checked in recently under that room. The clerk shook his head, refusing to share details. So I waited. Hours passed. Finally, in the late afternoon, I saw her. She stepped out of the elevator, long dark hair, striking red lips. That same woman in the red dress. My chest tightened with rage. I followed her outside, keeping my distance. She walked confidently down the street, heels clicking against the pavement, until she entered a cafe. I took a seat in the corner, pretending to read a magazine while watching her. She sat at a table near the window, pulled out her phone, and started typing furiously. I didn't know what came over me, but I walked right up to her. My voice shook as I asked, "Are you M?" She looked up, startled, then narrowed her eyes. "Who's asking?" "I'm Claire," I said firmly. "Ethan's wife." For a moment, her face went pale. Then she smirked, as if she had been expecting this. "Well," she said coolly, "so the wife finally finds out." The words hit me like a slap. "So it's true. You're sleeping with him." She chuckled darkly. "Sweetheart, sleeping with him is just the tip of the iceberg." My stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" She leaned in closer, lowering her voice. "Ethan isn't the man you think he is. And if you're smart, you'll walk away before you get burned." Her words sent chills through me, but I refused to back down. "What are you talking about? Tell me the truth." She smiled coldly. "Truth is dangerous. You'll find out soon enough." Then she stood up, tossed some bills on the table, and walked out, leaving me trembling with more questions than answers. That night, Ethan didn't come home. I waited, pacing the living room, my phone in my hand. At midnight, I texted him. "Where are you?" No response. At 2 a.m., the door finally opened. He stumbled inside, looking exhausted. "Where were you?" I demanded. "Work," he muttered. "Stop lying," I snapped, shoving the phone in his face. "I met her. I met him. And she told me you're not who I think you are." "What does that mean, Ethan?" He froze, his eyes wide. You met her?" Yes. Now tell me what's going on. He ran his hands through his hair, his voice breaking. Claire, you don't understand. This isn't about love. It isn't even about us. It's bigger than that. Then explain, I shouted, tears streaming down my face. Because right now it looks like you're betraying me in the worst way possible. He slammed his fist against the wall, making me flinch. I can't. If I tell you, it could ruin everything for both of us. I stared at him, my heart breaking. You already ruined everything, Ethan. For a moment, we stood in silence, the air thick with tension. Then his phone buzzed again. Another message from M. We need to meet. She's getting closer to the truth. My breath caught. She knew I had spoken to her. She knew I was digging. Ethan looked at me, panic flashing across his face. Claire, you need to stop. Please, for your own good, let this go. But I couldn't. Not anymore. The man I loved, the man I married, was hiding something so deep, so dark, that even his mistress was warning me off. I went to bed that night without another word, but sleep never came. I kept replaying everything in my mind, the note, the photos, the cafe conversation. And then I made a decision. If Ethan wouldn't tell me the truth, I'd uncover it myself. The next morning, I took his car keys while he was showering. If he was hiding something, maybe it was in his car. I searched the glove compartment, the trunk, under the seats. And that's when I found it, a black duffel bag. Inside were stacks of cash, thousands of dollars. And tucked between the bundles was a small pistol. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just an affair. This was something criminal, something dangerous. And I was caught right in the middle of it. I thought Ethan was just betraying me with another woman. But the gun and the cash told me his secrets could destroy us both. My hands shook as I held the duffel bag. Stacks of cash. A pistol. It felt like something out of a crime movie, not my marriage. My mind screamed at me to put it back, pretend I hadn't seen it, but my heart wouldn't let me. Who was Ethan? Who had I married? I zipped the bag up quickly and shoved it back where I found it before he came out of the shower. By the time he walked into the kitchen, I was sitting at the table, pretending to scroll through my phone. He kissed my cheek casually, poured himself a coffee, and said, I'll be late tonight. My stomach twisted. Late tonight. Another meeting with her. Another lie. I forced myself to act normal, but inside, my thoughts were screaming. He's not just cheating. He's hiding something dangerous. And I need to find out what before it's too late. That night, after Ethan left, I couldn't sit still. I decided to follow him again. I tailed his car through downtown, heart pounding, until he parked in front of an abandoned warehouse. My pulse quickened as I watched him step out, duffel bag in hand. A black SUV pulled up beside him. Two men climbed out, rough-looking, intimidating. Ethan greeted them like he knew them. They shook hands, exchanged a few words, and then Ethan handed over the bag. I ducked low in my seat, terrified. The men opened the bag, glanced inside, then gave Ethan a small black envelope in return. It wasn't an affair meeting. It was a deal. A deal involving cash and a weapon. I pulled out my phone and tried to take a photo, but my hands were shaking too badly. The flash accidentally went off. My heart stopped. Ethan and the men turned their heads toward me instantly. I dropped down in the car, panicking, fumbling with my keys. By some miracle, they didn't come after me. I sped off into the night, adrenaline surging through my veins. When Ethan came home hours later, I pretended to be asleep again. But I couldn't stop thinking. Was he part of something illegal? Was M involved too? The next morning, I confronted him one more time. Ethan, I need you to be honest with me. Are you in some kind of trouble? He froze mid-sip of his coffee, then carefully set the mug down. Why do you ask that? I met his eyes. Because I'm not stupid. I know about the money. I know about the gun. I saw you at that warehouse last night. His face drained of color. He opened his mouth, then closed it, as if struggling to decide what to say. Finally, he muttered, You shouldn't have followed me. Don't you dare turn this on me. I snapped, tears burning in my eyes. I'm your wife. You've been lying, sneaking, cheating. What am I supposed to do? Sit here quietly while you destroy us both. He slammed his hand on the table, making me flinch. You don't understand, Claire. He rubbed his temples, pacing the room. It's too late. You're in this now whether I want you to be or not. That was the moment I realized he wasn't going to tell me. Not willingly. I decided to go back to him. If Ethan wouldn't talk, maybe she would. I found her at the same cafe a few days later, dressed in another sleek outfit, sipping her coffee like she owned the world. I walked straight up to her table. "We need to talk." She raised an eyebrow. "You again. Didn't I warn you to stay out of this?" I sat down anyway. "I found the money. The gun. I saw him at the warehouse. I know something's going on. So either you tell me the truth, or I go to the police." Her smirk faded instantly. For the first time, she looked unsettled. "You don't know what you're playing with, sweetheart." "Then explain it to me," I begged. "Because right now, all I know is my husband is lying, cheating, and possibly a criminal. I deserve the truth." She leaned in, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your husband isn't cheating on you in the way you think. Yes, we're close, but it's not about love. Ethan and we're part of something bigger, something dangerous. That money, that gun, they're not his. He's a middleman, a courier. And if you expose him, you'll expose us both." My head spun. "Courier? For what?" She stared at me with icy eyes. "For people you don't want to mess with." I swallowed hard. "So all those nights the hotels, the secrecy." She smirked again. "Some of it was fun, sure. But mostly, it was business. He was never fully mine. But if you keep digging, Claire, you'll end up on someone's hit list. Do you understand?" Her warning chilled me to the core. "Still," I pushed. "Why keep seeing him then? Why the messages about me? About being careful?" She leaned back, smiling cruelly. "Because, darling, if you knew the whole truth, you might not survive it." Then she stood up and walked away, leaving me shaking with fear. That night, I couldn't hold it in any longer. When Ethan came home, I confronted him again. "I know you're a courier. I know it's dangerous. And I know Em is part of it. But I don't understand why. Why would you risk everything, us, for this?" His face turned pale. "She told you." I nodded. "So it's true." "All of it." He sat down heavily, burying his face in his hands. "Claire, I didn't want you to find out like this. I never wanted you involved." "Too late," I whispered. "I'm already involved." For a moment, he stayed silent. Then he looked up, his eyes filled with desperation. "If you love me, Claire, you'll stay quiet. You'll pretend you don't know anything. It's the only way to keep you safe." My heart broke at his words. How could I love a man who betrayed me, lied to me, and dragged me into this nightmare? I shook my head slowly. "No, Ethan. I'm done keeping quiet. If you won't get out of this, then I will. Even if it means going to the police." His eyes widened in horror. "Claire, no. You don't understand. If you go to the police, they'll kill you. They'll kill us both." I stared at him, my whole body trembling. "Then tell me, Ethan. Tell me everything. Because right now, the only thing I know is that my marriage has become a lie. And you're the man who built it." He hesitated, then finally whispered, "Fine. I'll tell you. But once you know, there's no turning back." Ethan leaned closer, his voice low and trembling. "Claire, I've been living a double life, and if you stay with me, you'll be dragged into it forever." For a long moment, neither of us moved. Ethan's confession hung in the air like a dark cloud. A double life. "Start talking," I said finally, my voice trembling but firm. "All of it. No more lies." He sat back, running his hands through his hair. "I didn't want this, Claire. When we met, I was already involved. I thought I could keep you away from it. But the deeper I got, the harder it became to leave." "What is it, Ethan?" I asked, my heart hammering. "What are you involved in?" He looked me straight in the eyes. "Smuggling. Money. Weapons. Sometimes documents. I don't work for a company. I work for people who don't forgive mistakes. Em isn't just my lover. She's my handler." My stomach turned. "Handler?" He nodded. "She's the one who gives me assignments, makes sure the drops go smoothly. We staged everything to look like an affair because it draws less suspicion. A man sneaking off to see a woman looks normal. A man sneaking off to hand over a gun doesn't." I felt dizzy. The room tilted. "So all this time, you've been lying to me." using me as a cover while you risked both our lives. I was protecting you, he insisted. You have no idea how dangerous these people are. If they even suspect they'll. He trailed off, his voice breaking. They'll what? I demanded. Kill me? Kill us. That's what you've brought into our home. He reached for my hands, his eyes pleading. Claire, I swear, I was trying to get out. I've been saving money. That's why I've been doing extra runs. One last job, and we're free. We can leave, start over somewhere new. Just hold on a little longer. One last job? I repeated, laughing bitterly. That's what they all say in the movies before everything goes wrong. Tears stung my eyes. You betrayed me, Ethan. You pretended to love me while living this secret life. And now you're telling me to just wait while you finish your last job. His grip tightened. Claire, please. I do love you. Everything I've done, every risk I've taken, was to make sure you'd be okay when this was over. I yanked my hands free. If you loved me, you wouldn't have lied to me for years. You wouldn't have dragged me into this hell. For a moment, he looked broken. Then he whispered, I'm begging you, Claire. Don't go to the police. Don't tell anyone. Just let me finish this one job, and I promise I'll walk away. I stared at him, my heart torn between rage and a love I didn't want to feel anymore. And what if you don't come back from this job? What if they kill you? He didn't answer. The silence was louder than any words. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Ethan's phone buzzed with a new message. I glanced at it. Tomorrow night. Final run. Be ready. Tomorrow night. I had two choices. Let him go through with it, or stop it before it destroyed us both. I thought about calling the police, but M's warning echoed in my head. You'll end up on someone's hit list. Then I thought about confronting M again, making a deal, anything to protect myself. But deep down, I knew what I had to do. I couldn't trust Ethan. I couldn't trust M. The only person I could trust was me. The next evening, I followed Ethan one last time. He drove to another warehouse on the outskirts of town. The duffel bag sat on the passenger seat. I parked a block away, my heart pounding. I had brought the photos, the messages, everything. If things went south, I'd go straight to the police. I watched as Ethan got out, met with M, and handed her the bag. But something was different this time. M wasn't alone. Two men stood beside her, both armed. Ethan's posture stiffened. They were arguing. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw M's finger jabbing at his chest, her expression furious. Then one of the men pulled a gun. My blood ran cold. Before I could think, I jumped out of my car and screamed, Ethan. Everyone turned. For a split second, the scene froze. Ethan's eyes wide with shock, M's mouth open in surprise. The gun pointed at my husband. Claire, get back, Ethan shouted. But it was too late. The man with the gun spun toward me. And then everything happened at once. Ethan lunged at him. The gun went off. A deafening crack echoed through the night. I screamed, dropping to my knees. When I looked up, Ethan was on the ground, clutching his shoulder. The gun had clattered to the floor. The two men bolted, dragging M with them. Tires screeched as their SUV sped off into the darkness. I crawled to Ethan, tears streaming down my face. Ethan, stay with me. He winced, blood seeping through his shirt. I'm okay, he whispered. Just a graze. I pressed my hands against the wound, shaking. We have to call the police now. This ends tonight. He didn't fight me this time. His eyes were full of something I hadn't seen before. Surrender. Do it. He breathed. I'm done. The police arrived within minutes. They took Ethan into custody, not as a criminal at first, but as a witness. He gave them everything, names, locations, deals. It was his only chance at immunity. I spent hours at the hospital while they stitched his shoulder. We didn't speak much. There was nothing left to say. When it was over, Ethan was placed under protection. He would testify. M and her network would be taken down. But our marriage, that couldn't be saved. The man I had loved was gone. In his place was a stranger who had risked my life and my heart. On his last night before being moved to a safe house, Ethan reached for my hand. Claire, I'm so sorry. For everything. I stared at him, my heart aching. I believe you're sorry, but that doesn't fix what you did. He lowered his head. Do you still love me? Tears blurred my vision. I don't even know who you are anymore. I stood up, took a deep breath, and walked away. Weeks later, I received a letter. It was from Ethan, sent through his attorney. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know everything I did thinking it would keep you safe. I was wrong. You deserved better. I folded the letter, tears spilling down my cheeks. He had taken my love and turned it into a cover for his crimes. But he had also, in his own twisted way, tried to protect me. It didn't matter anymore. My life with Ethan was over. But as I stared out the window at the sunrise, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Freedom. I had survived the lies, the betrayal, the danger. I had walked away. And for the first time in years, I could breathe. Final line. She pretended to love me. But it was my husband who had been living the real lie. And in the end, I chose myself over the secrets that could have destroyed me.